everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, it is a highly requested video. I asked you guys a question on my Instagram about a week ago, and most of you voted for me to share my experience when it comes to PCOS and what I do to heal from it. Basically how I reversed it. So I'm gonna make it short and sweet. I'm sorry for the bell. That was my air fryer and I'm about to have my lunch after this. So just a disclaimer, I'm not a medical professional, or don't take this as a medical advice. It is really just me sharing my own experience, my own N=1 experiment. So I hope that my sharing would guide you in some way, and maybe help you to rethink about your strategies when it comes to managing or even healing from your PCOS. Or maybe you suspect that you do have PCOS, and perhaps this video will kind of confirm it for you. Okay, so what exactly is PCOS? PCOS actually stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome. Quite a mouthful. So basically it's a condition in women where their hormones are imbalanced. I believe it's excessive production of androgens. You have a lot more testosterone and your other levels are not in a normal state, in order for it to be balanced. And so it causes you to have a lot of these symptoms of irregular menstrual cycle, very painful period cramps. You may not be ovulating, which causes you to, if you're trying to start a family, it becomes very difficult. Also, those of you that are still suffering from those cystic hormonal acne, on your back, on your chest, and even on your chin area where it's always hormonal issues, these are common symptoms of PCOS. There's even things like hair thinning and also difficulty when it comes to weight loss. And it's also actually linked to insulin resistance, which means that you could be someone that has metabolic issues in terms of when you are having a meal and after that you become hungry very easily, your blood sugar is not very stable. So these are all very common symptoms of PCOS. I always suspected that I had PCOS. I think in my mid-20s when I went into keto, probably like 3 to 4 years after doing keto. It wasn't a good keto diet because back then we were not educated well in terms of where you get all your nutrients from. So I was relying a lot on vegetables. So I was like a plant-based keto person. So I wasn't eating a lot of red meat, which is where you get your nutrients. I wasn't eating organ meat. I wasn't even getting the right sources of fats, which is, I was relying heavily on nut butter, seed butter. I was eating a lot of vegetable oil. It wasn't things like, your good fats, which is like butter, your animal fats, even avocado, Only much later I focused on that. And I've always sense that I had PCOS because I've always had very thin hair. Also, my menstrual cycle, it's never regular. It's sometimes it would be there, and then 2 to 3 months I wouldn't have a period, and then whether I was fasting or not, he has always been very irregular. And sometimes I really wonder where my period went. So I'm not sure if it's really just amenorrhea, because there were other things that was causing me to think that it's PCOS, also because my hormonal acne, which gets a lot worse when my period is coming, and I have very painful menstrual cramps whenever I have my period. So all this, as knowing myself, I will research, I will try to find out what it is. I wouldn't go to the doctor to find out. And the more and more I Google about the symptoms, you diagnose yourself. Most of us do that. The more and more I start to feel that this is PCOS, But the thing is, when I was reading about PCOS, it only happens to people who are, I would say, a little bit overweight, or obese PCOS. So in the back of my head, I was like, could I be the special case, So I was diagnosed then with PCOS officially about 3 or 4 years ago. It's before I went carnivore. So I went on with those symptoms for a few years, probably 3 to 4 years, and then I finally went to the doctor. I went to this specialist where they do really specialize in women's health, and then the doctor actually did well. Before I go into the scanning, when I told him that I suspect that I have PCOS, he looked at me and he actually said, it's impossible for you to have PCOS. You're so thin, you're so small size. And in my head I was like, yeah, but I think the reason why I'm here is because I really want to confirm it, because I have all the symptoms of PCOS. So he was like, you know what, since you're here, we're just going to do an ultrasound. I'm going to do a pelvic exam, which is very uncomfortable, but it's for them to confirm if you actually have cysts in your uterus, the ovaries, the area, right? And after he checked, he did the pelvic exam, he didn't see any cysts. So he was kind of confident, saying that, see, I told you you don't have PCOS. But he did in the end say that let's do a blood check just to double confirm, just to double check, because sometimes PCOS is not detected. You may not have the physical, like the cyst in your uterus, but they can actually detect from your blood, from the blood test, your hormone imbalance, whether you have PCOS or not. So we did the blood test, and then lo and behold, a week later when I came back to collect my result, he looked up and said, yep, you have PCOS. And he was still kind of shocked, So yeah, because I would say that 3 or 4 years ago, I wasn't this I didn't have a lot of muscles. I was pretty lean, a lot leaner, but not in like that, the shape that I like now, where I look healthy, So I think the doctors was just like, wow, this is weird. But then after that, I Googled, I did find a lot of people who are smaller in size, they do have PCOS, and this is called the lean PCOS. It's just hormonal imbalance, and if you keep this up, it's going to be very difficult for you to get pregnant, and you would always be, fighting those issues where, you'll be shedding hair, you have irregular menstrual cycle, you will have very painful cramps. I don't think any of us ladies out there would want to live with that for the rest of our lives. So, and actually, if you really deep dive into this whole world of PCOS, many of us out there, ladies, have PCOS, but we just didn't go and officially diagnose it, So I think if you suspect that something is wrong, you really did everything that you can, and it's still not right, you might want to just, go to the doctor and have a check, so that you are very sure, and then you can look into the root cause healing. You can actually find out what you can do to recover from it. So after I found out I have PCOS, I would say that immediately, like 3 months later, I went to carnivore. But let's reverse. 3 months before that, I was, when I had PCOS, when I was diagnosed with PCOS, I was actually still a smoker, a cigarette smoker. I smoked for 10 years. I started when I was when I was 17 years old. So 18 years old, yeah. So I've been smoking for a while, and even when I was doing keto. So immediately I quit smoking, but not cold turkey. I did taper it down. I successfully quit smoking in about 3 weeks time. Maybe I'll do a video about that too. And then I went straight into carnivore, because I was really doing a lot of research, watching a lot of YouTube videos, Frank Tufano, Dr. Sean Baker, I've been watching a few influencers on YouTube talking about carnivore diet and its benefit, and just completely going zero carb. It's not too scary for me, is because I was already doing keto for a few years. I was very used to not eating carbs. I never really crave carbs. It's something that I've trained myself over the years, and I was a giant salad bowl eater. So it was difficult for me to remove the vegetable, but I think my pain was so mentally, was so deep that it motivated me to go all in and did carnivore overnight. So just overnight, I completely stopped my nut butter, vegetable oil, 7 cups of salad, and just went into ruminant meat. It was just beef, lamb, and some of my favorite seafood, which is salmon. Completely no carbs, no sugar, no sweetener, no stevia. I also cut out coffee. I was quite clean when I first started out, and I really went all in, and that was how much I wanted to get rid of all these symptoms that I was having, always worrying about my period, having painful cramps, feeling like I couldn't work whenever I had my period pain. And they did say that eczema is related to people who have PCOS too, and that's right before I went carnivore, that's when my eczema got the worst, because I've never really had it in my entire body, and it didn't go away for months, and it did. I guess you reach a point in your life where your body tells you, hey, it's time to wake up, or I'm going to start a party. And that's the party that I was having with my body. A horrible one. So I went to carnivore. I would say that in the first 3 months, I started seeing that my eczema going away. It just started drying up. I was starting to heal, and my period actually became regular by the 5th or 6th months. That's when I started to see on my app, I have a tracker, Flow, the app. If you don't know about it, you should actually download it. You can keep track of your period, and it kind of tells you whether you are on a healthy range or not. So it became regular about 5 to 6 months into carnivore. So I completely stopped carbs. Not even carbs from vegetable. Let's not even talk about healthy carbs from like fruits or like your low glycemic carbs. It's not even those. It's completely no carbs. I think there was no inflammation in my body, and because PCOS is linked to insulin resistance, when I went completely zero carb, I was really stabilizing my blood sugar, and my insulin in a way became more sensitive, and it wasn't that resistant anymore. And I guess that's how I reversed my PCOS, because slowly my symptoms all went away in about within a year, almost to a year time. And very soon after 1 year, I didn't even realize that I had PCOS anymore, and my hair was not even that thin anymore. When it comes to cystic acne, but I must address this, drastic improvement. I didn't have those like very, very oily skin that you would have when you have PCOS, because of the hormonal production. It's imbalanced, because it messes up with the condition of your skin. But I would get some kind of breakout if I don't really take care of what I eat. In terms of, if let's say I were to eat out and I didn't tell the waiter or the waitress correctly that don't use any butter, make sure you cook it clean, I have allergy. If I don't go on this OCD persona at the restaurant, sometimes you just like, oh, it's okay, everybody's there, let's not make a scene, let's just eat it. But anything that's with sauces and all, I clearly won't eat it. But I just sometimes don't trust the steak that I eat out, because they grill it on the same grill, obviously, and maybe there are some butter on it, there's some other oil on it, I don't know. I would still get a tiny bit of breakout, but it was nothing like those deep cystic acne that is like a monster is growing in your chin, right? And it will last for weeks. That is a very clear sign of PCOS. Okay, so let's summarize what I did exactly to reverse my PCOS. I think what I just shared is just complete switch of diet. So I removed all carbs and processed food. I went all clean, just meat. But I don't see this as something that is sustainable for most people. If you know that you have PCOS and you really, really badly want to manage it, I think it's good that at least cut out processed food first. Stop taking sugar, that is never good. Avoid vegetable oil because we know that's very inflammatory. Focus on real food, organic, animal-based food. You don't have to do this forever. You don't have to be just doing zero carb like me or many of the other veterans out there forever. If you don't decide to, it's all about just taking the extra step, the extreme step to heal yourself, so that you can slowly regain your health back, and then you will slowly introduce other food, healthy food again, not processed food, because you'll be doing the same thing, right? So I think diet is number one. And then the second thing is, I think it's something very critical when it comes to reversing PCOS, is that PCOS is, you know, it's a form of, it's linked to insulin resistance, right? So women with PCOS, because they have insulin resistance, they are most likely to have type 2 diabetes. So we know that resistance training, you know, not just going for walks, running or walking, resistant exercise where you push yourself, where you lift heavy things, where you build muscle, that is going to help you to manage PCOS and go hand in hand with the diet that you're going to do. I stress this a lot. It's because recently I've been reading a lot about the importance of muscles, and it's really not just about aesthetic. It's not just, you know, I have abs, I have biceps, I have, you know, it's really more than that, because Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, if you don't know her, please check her out. She will really open your eyes when it comes to muscle. The importance of muscle is that because muscle is the organ, you know, for glucose disposal. It means that our body, even if you don't ingest sugar, you know, or your diet is not that perfect, let's just put it that way, okay? When you have muscles, you can treat it as insurance. You know, it's that organ that is actually going to make sure that your glucose, you know, the sugar are being utilized, and it doesn't stay in your body and causes it to have all this toxicity and insulin resistance, which is why it's triggering the PCOS. So muscle building, I think it's very helpful. It's not to look jacked, you know, it's really pushing yourself in terms of exercise that challenges you. It's going to help in terms of managing your PCOS. And then the third thing I will really highlight is, I used to be someone that is, you know, super strict, you know, perfect with my diet, very disciplined with my exercise, I follow to the T, you know. But I realized that if I don't manage my stress, I don't try to sleep when I'm supposed to be sleeping, I don't try to de-stress myself by taking a walk whenever things get too stressed out, the diet and muscle building it's not good enough if you don't take care of the other parts of your lifestyle when it comes to stress management. So I think mental health, it plays a very big part too. When you're very stressed out, it causes you to also have a lot of cortisol, which is going to affect how your hormone levels are going to be, which then it's not going to help you with your PCOS. So I think taking care of your mental health, going for long walks, meditation, writing down your thoughts, I think all these small things is going to build up, and it's going to help you to manage or at least reverse your PCOS. At least it did for me, and I hope that with these three things that I just shared with you, you could probably try one of it out and see how it's going to. Really glad to talk about these topics, because I noticed that more and more women are starting to come out to talk about PCOS, and actually a lot of us have PCOS. It's just that we didn't officially go and diagnose it, or we are too distracted with other things that we don't realize that, you know, like for example, it's not normal to always have period cramps, or it's not normal to suddenly miss your period for a few months, you know. So yeah, you find this video useful, and I hope you stay tuned to the next video. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye.